As a guy who has wasted tons of money on coffee gear, I wanted to make this video to hopefully help you all who are looking at all these espresso gadgets on Instagram, on YouTube, thinking, do I need this? Will it actually make my coffee better? I haven't tried them all, but I've tried a good bit of them, and they are now just paperweights in either our lab here at Valor or in my drawer at home. If you're new to this channel, my name is Riley and I'm one of the co-founders of Valor Coffee in Metro Atlanta. And this entire channel is just based on helping educate people out there, helping show off gear through reviews. And so in this video, I wanted to hopefully maybe stray you away from wasting some money on some stuff you don't need. The best part about not wasting money on the stuff you don't need is that you can get better gear in the departments in the areas where you might want to spend a little bit more cash. First, let's look at this concept of tools versus gadgets. I would call a tool something that actually changes the outcome of the coffee quality in your cup. And then I would call a gadget like something that changes the process or the ritual of making coffee. Gadget as a term is just more I don't want to say gimmicky, but a tool is something that actually comes along. It's a technology that helps you make something better or do something easier. And in the world of social media marketing, YouTube videos, people needing topics to discuss, not me, I don't do that. You have a lot of products that are promoted as essential or completely game-changing, whenever it probably hasn't been tested enough to even know if that's the case, or maybe it's just a flat out lie to link someone to an affiliate link so that they can get some kickback. I'm not making any accusations, I'm just saying it's really easy to see. New product could do something, maybe it does, it's flashy, but maybe it's just a gimmick if we haven't really explored it. Like I always say, you gotta A, B to C if it's worth it. All right, so let's go ahead and start with one that might ruffle some feathers. I understand why people like it. I use them myself, but one thing you absolutely don't need if you haven't built out the rest of your kit extensively is a bottomless portafilter. If your machine didn't come with a bottomless portafilter, you are going to be very provoked to get one so you can see if your shots are channeling. I think many coffee YouTubers out there have proven that the look of a shot is not completely one-for-one truth to if that shot is channeled. Plenty of shots look channeled and aren't. Plenty of shots look beautiful and are channeled. In my opinion, when people get so caught up in the visuals when they're first getting into coffee, this is a bad place to be. You want to make sure you are developing your palate first and foremost. And so if your machine comes with a spouted portafilter, I say do the technique correctly in the way that you're learning on YouTube or whatever, and then taste the coffee to see if it tastes good. See if you think it tastes evenly extracted or unevenly extracted. And most of all, above everything else, taste all the bad shots. Pull things incorrectly on purpose. Do the salami shot test. I see this happen a lot and people get really caught up in the visuals and aesthetic because there's a lot of aesthetic stuff with coffee. But the reason I don't recommend to go drop your hard-earned cash on a bottomless portafilter is that you might just fall into that trap and then not actually be focusing on what matters, which is how the coffee tastes. Puck screens. Puck screens are great if your machine needs a puck screen. And I understand you want things to be as even as possible, but a lot of decent espresso machines out there have a built-in shower screen. So all the water is going to be more evenly dispersed. If I was gonna look at something, I would look at getting the best possible shower head for your actual espresso machine first. And then really with puck screens, a lot of times you're only gonna want to look at doing this if you're using something like a flare, which it comes with one. That machine specifically does not have a shower screen. So you do want things to get more evenly distributed. Again, aesthetics rule in this game, and a lot of people like to show themselves doing the ritual, especially when they're trying to grow an Instagram or YouTube channel. So they're gonna show you every step of the process finished off by adding one more complex thing to it. So I have been making coffee for over a decade, and most of that time did not involve these. When I started using these on machines that didn't need it, didn't really make that much of a difference. Next up, let's talk about advanced distribution methods. And this is where I have sank a decent bit of money. I literally have so many down here that I can't find them all. So we'll just roll with these. You see so many different gimmicky ways to make your bed homogeneous. And I get it, it's important. You want to prevent channeling. Everyone's talking about it, especially when you first get into coffee. You gotta worry about your puck prep. You gotta make sure that you're not channeling. And there's a lot of different tools. So specifically, let's just talk about these three first. You have the WDT method. This is just needles stuck into something. Look, one of mine is bent right here. Oops. Quite literally, usually just acupuncture needles. The most simple way of doing this is to order acupuncture needles on Amazon, poke them into a wine cork that you have laying around, and call it a day. Then you have these spinning leveling tools. And with these, the entire idea is that you put it on top of the portafilter and you spin it around and it makes the bed level before you tamp. And then lastly, you have the shaker method. So this is the Weber line shaker. Basically, you grind your coffee into the shaker, put the lid on, and then you give it a nice shake. Lots of tests have been run on all of these. And again, all that matters at the end of the day when you are making coffee for yourself is what tastes the best to you. So why believe what Riley or whoever YouTuber says about something if you haven't tried it for yourself? So here's what I like to do. This makes zero difference for me whatsoever, especially in a day with self-leveling spring-loaded tampers, which are amazing. This one from Normcore is not that expensive. I think it's like in the $50 range, maybe even cheaper. And it does a good job. You know that you're gonna get the same amount of pressure every single time and it levels itself. They even have some that do the whole clicking method where you can go further, but with these, I don't think you need this. And I have done so many A/B tests to see if this actually makes a difference, and it does not. Now, these two, in my opinion, absolutely do make a difference. And which choice you take of these, I think either is a good choice. You could just go in this direction. I think this is like $80. There might be cheaper models out there. Weber stuff is all really high quality, but also really high priced, so be aware. I've done, just shake into the portafilter and then tamp, and it's been great. I've done that and then WDT'd, it's been great. I've done just WDT, it's been great. So my opinion is one or the other of these or a combo of both if you do want to just go the extra mile. If I was just getting started, again, trying to stretch my funds even further, I would go with the cheapest WDT method possible. Let me tell you what is not worth it, and it is this. Flashy WDT methods that are very expensive. These range in price. Again, this one is from Weber. It's called the Moonraker. I dropped a review video on this years ago that we can link, and my entire thing at that moment was maybe this will work in my cafes. It did not work in my cafes. Then we tried the Barista Hustle Auto Comb, also have a video of that we'll link. It was better, but with these methods, you can see this one. I mean, this is why we didn't love the Moonraker. These needles are just bent all out of shape because when you try to use it in a rush, it doesn't work. This is not necessary. Any amount of A/B test, again, the reason we wanted to use this was in a cafe where we're trying to be super fast about WDT. If you're at home, take this. You try to have a lot of variability and get everything, shot's gonna be pretty dang good. So I would not waste my money on flashy WDT methods unless you're trying to figure out an efficient or automatic way to do it in your cafe. There's even like electronic ones now. So if you're just really trying to crush through making your coffee in the morning, maybe go with one of those. But I would say that most of us who are in this for the ritual of making coffee aren't gonna really be looking to take that next step. Hey, if you were liking this video so far, could you please like it and subscribe to my channel? It would really mean the world to me. And I have a ton of other videos like this, other reviews that I'm gonna be sharing over the next few months. Thank you. All right, here's another one. Again, it's all for the aesthetic a lot of time, all for the Instagram. Tamping mats and stations. I don't get this that much, honestly. I understand if you have like a nice fragile countertop and you're just trying to not cause stuff to happen to it. But especially with this, I don't even know. I think this came in like a Normcore kit that we bought that did have some good stuff in it, but it just gets in the way and nobody ever uses it. I think you're supposed to put the portafilter here. This is where the distribution tool goes. This is where the tamper goes. No clue what went there. It's just more harm than good. So if I was gonna buy one of these, I would buy a flat one like this one. I think this is from like Espresso Outlet or something. But again, why not just take your portafilter, put it on the counter like this, and tamp. In my opinion, it's just not worth the money. And then really your countertop is gonna be taken up by more coffee stuff on top of it. And in my case, I know that that's kind of a battle that I'm fighting at home a lot of times. I like to have a ton of coffee gear, and not everyone in my house likes to have a ton of coffee gear spreading across the kitchen. So I personally don't like tamping mats. Now some of you do, I'm sorry. All right, so for this next one, I want you to come with me over here. I'm gonna show you a little something that is ridiculous and you definitely should not drop your money on. This is like an $8,000 water filtration system from a company called Blue Water. And I show you this to say, this is a coffee lab where we are wanting our water and minerals to be exactly aligned how we want to, especially for cuppings. And there is no way I could possibly make a recommendation like this for someone's house. I understand a full RO system if you want RO'd water for you to drink. But even at that point, if you're wanting to find like a remineralization situation, I don't know if I would recommend that. I would probably just recommend you either using third wave water or making your own minerals, maybe from like the Barista Hustle recipe that you can easily find online. But even to that point, just to say, if you're just getting into this or you're wanting to up your water game, you can always just go the distilled water gallons direction and then just use, again, either your own recipe or sticks of third wave water, which is going to make your coffee taste so much better than tap water or water from your fridge or Brita or whatever. Okay, for this next one, I don't even have a demonstration to show you, thankfully, because I haven't done this. Knockboxes. So this is like a trash can top knockbox. And in terms of a knockbox, I see people go the drawer direction where they have like this, I don't know, we can pull it up on the screen. It's basically like a drawer you can pull out and then knock it and then push it back in. Or there's the knockbox that has a bottom, or people cut one into their countertop, which is what we do at our cafes, and just put trash cans directly beneath them. If you're trying to just have like a baller coffee bar at home, I get doing that from an efficiency standpoint. But for most of us out there, I just think it's just one more thing to add room, one more thing to clean. So for me, I literally get my portafilter and I kind of just like knock it on the edge of my trash can with like a tilt towards the inside of the trash can, and it just typically works. If we're just talking about money that you don't have to spend, I could say that you could skip the knockbox for sure. Next up is one that is very relevant these days. There's lots of chatter about Portafilter baskets, basket sizes, all these things. This is a rabbit hole, and there are some baskets out there that are like $300 a piece. It's crazy. Even some of these, this Weber one is like, I don't even remember, it's like 80 bucks or something like that. This Normcore stamped one came in like a kit and it was like 70 or 80 bucks. VST baskets aren't cheap. So, I mean, there's so many options here, and I understand that you might want to chase down every possible way to brew coffee. Like I have this 25 gram basket that we've been trying to pull like super like 1-to-1 ratio and see what it's like when we use a half shot and milk and like all these things that we're testing for our cafes. We have the step down basket to see if deeper bed depth really does prove to be worth changing our operations to, and I've been using it at home, and is it good for certain brew methods and not others? VST baskets, because precision holes was a big thing and still is. The Weber basket, when we wanted to start getting into high flow stuff. There's a lot of directions. I think that you should just pick like 2 baskets. For the most part, especially at home where you're spending your hard-earned money on coffee, you want your dial-in process to be as simple as possible. So really, I would just get like 2 20-gram baskets, a high flow and a low flow. If you wanted to go with Normcore, the step down basket like this, you could always go in that direction. And then for the low flow, a lot of times your machine will come with some sort of standard low flow basket that probably works pretty good, and it's usually in that 18 to 20 gram dose range. This is kind of just scratching the surface of what is out there, and if we really dove in, I could end up having a million here. If you're wanting your money to go further towards the things that matter, probably keep it simple with baskets, at least to start. Milk pitchers. A lot of people start looking at milk pitchers, especially today, where as opposed to like 10 or 15 years ago, we didn't have a lot of different spout geometry and all this stuff, and it's daunting. So I would say look at your milk pitchers, and basically you're gonna wanna end up as a home barista with just like 1 or 2 sizes. If you don't ever drink lattes, it might be a good idea if you have friends over who would want one, but I guess you could get away with just getting a cappuccino size if you wanted. But cappuccino size, latte size will probably serve you well. I do think it's worth the money to get one of these WPM pitchers. I know that Slow Pour Supply sells them here in the US. They do just pour better art whenever you get used to them. This is where you get into the overwhelm of all these different spout designs. But I think that they even had one with like a few different spouts on it. And if you were just getting started out and you wanted to learn how to steam and pour good latte art using that pitcher with the different spouts all on one pitcher, that might be a good direction to go. But I would say be careful about just like getting 10 milk pitchers, because that's gonna take up a lot of space in a cabinet somewhere, and probably you're just gonna end up leaning towards one. So get one with the geometry that you really wanna go for, or that like multi-spout one, and then just call it a day at that point and learn how to steam good milk and pour good latte art and with using that one tool. Trust me, we didn't have these for years and the latte art was still pretty dang good. Okay, last but not least, do not waste your money on overpriced scales. This is an opinion that I have recently changed, because I used to be really big on like Acaia scales or Fellow scales or whatever. But I have noticed that cheaper scales, like a lot of cheaper coffee equipment, are just getting better and better. I still like the pearls. I think they're great. We still use them in our cafes. They're very repairable. Working with Acaia support is not that much of an issue. Oftentimes we just have a couple of like extras that we keep under the counter for when one breaks, we can send it in and get a new one. But at this point, I don't get much out of this compared to something like a Time War scale, which is a fraction of the price of the Acaia. I typically recommend getting one of these. I kind of just got into this recently and I was like, I'm missing not really anything from the Acaia, yet it still has a lot of the features, including like the brew guide assist features that I don't really use, but I could if I wanted, as the flow rate, all that stuff. Very cool. When we look at a scale that is more of like a dedicated drip tray scale like the Lunar, it's kind of the same deal. You're going to get a tank. These things can take a beating. They can take abuse by espresso flowing on top of them and water and whatever. It's just so expensive. These are like more than $200, but there are other cheaper options out there these days that could work just the same. All you gotta do is just find a scale that can weigh to the 10th of the gram with a timer, and you're pretty much good to go. And that's only if your like espresso machine doesn't have a timer built in. I use this scale often with the Decent because I can connect it with Bluetooth. But again, there are other scales out there that can connect with Bluetooth and do the auto stop things for a lot of the different machines on the market. So it's probably not as worth the money at this point to get something like that. When you are doing the whole single dose workflow, it doesn't make a bigger scale like this as necessary, because really you can fit like a carafe if you're gonna brew pour overs on this, so it could be multi-purpose. And then with scales like this sub-minimal dosing cup scale, this is a much cheaper price point again than the Acaia. It's still not cheap, but you can use this for your single dosing. And then if you had another like drip tray scale like this, I think this would get you a lot of the way there for anything that you're looking to brew. With all this being said, what would I actually recommend you spend your money on instead of this flashy gear? It's really simple. Good fresh coffee plus decent gear plus decent technique takes you like 90% of the way there. So as an example, if you chose either the cheaper way out or not spending the money on the unnecessary, flashy, expensive thing, it could save you hundreds or even up to like over $1,000 that could go towards the things that do actually matter, like a better grinder or a better espresso machine, or like a coffee subscription that could last you for weeks or months, instead of getting something that's going to make your percentage of better quality like 1 to 3%. There's just a lot of the law of diminishing returns happening here in coffee, and I understand we as hobbyists really like chasing that. But if you either just want to keep things more simple or not spend all of your money on this hobby, then it's worth exploring the things that actually make the biggest amount of a difference first, and then adding those other things later as you continue in this whole process. With all that being said, I made an entire video on the things that actually are worth buying, even though this was the more don't do it section. So if you want to check that out, we will put it right here. Peace.